Hi, I'm here with Tripti Arya. Tripti, today we're going to talk about Travitus, AI and Adam.
So Travitus is the home of Adam, and we were primarily a real estate and a construction company, which is now an R&D shop for AI in real estate. So Adam is an AI property manager. So the skills that he's picking up are very similar to the in-field skills that a property manager or a letting agent would have. So Adam's ability it starts with his ability to take calls. So natural language processing is one branch of artificial intelligence. Then there are data models which tell it, for example, what's the scope of work, or a viewing has to be set up, or understanding that there's a noise complaint. All of that is also linked to data models which tell it what to do next in a workflow. So instead of it being a rule-based system, it uses artificial intelligence to do that.
So where does the artificial intelligence come into this?
There is no such thing as artificial intelligence. It's actually a term that we have coined in order to put a lot of things together. What I would say is, what is machine learning? So machine learning is the basis of artificial intelligence. And what machine learning does is it utilizes data to look at pattern. So it's pattern recognition within data for the machine to take the next action or the next step. So what artificial intelligence does is it just uses machine learning, which is using a lot of data with a lot of computing power to look for patterns.
How do you see that pattern recognition impacting in other areas of real estate?
I think pattern recognition is the natural way of doing things in general. It's not just real estate, it can be applied to a lot of different aspects. So for example, where we work with work orders or renovations, for example, very often people will come into a room and say, I have the experience to do this, and which is why I can do it. And experience counts a lot within our industry. It's the feel or the gut of whether this area is something that, where a nice shopping mall can come up. There's a lot related to gut in real estate, which we take a lot of pride in. And that gut is actually just pattern recognition. So what we're doing is taking all of the data of our experience, and very quickly our mind is just going through what are the different patterns that we've seen historically, so what do we project would happen in the future? That's exactly what machine learning does. So it can be applied to development sites, it can be applied to renovation, it can be applied to specs, to, of course, natural language processing, where you're trying to understand where somebody's trying to report something to you. Any aspect that is linked to interactions or decisioning.
So what's holding back the industry from really adopting AI?
Well, I think a few things. One is the lack of understanding of what it is. People just assume that there's some Skynet related, robot which is going to come and take over what they do. I think that's a fallacy, because what I personally believe is that artificial intelligence allows us to value human beings as humans a lot more. So we're no longer, care about the guy who does really good spreadsheets. We care about the guy who has great eye contact with the client. And doing that through artificial intelligence actually makes the human a lot more valuable for the very human qualities. So that's, I think, the first reason why, it hasn't really picked up, because there's this fear that it's the skills that are not going to be needed, but we forget that there are a lot of other human skills we have which actually will now take the forefront. I think the second thing is that the data or the quality of data in the industry is not great. And that is something that people need to kind of give time and effort to. The pattern recognition is only as good as the data, and it's only as good as the people training it, which is again a very human concept. So once people get their heads around that this is a part of what we do, we are the teachers of bots, or we are the teachers of artificial intelligence, then it'll be much easier to accept. I think at this point, everyone feels like they're loggerheads with it, which isn't really true.
So where do you see the future of real estate? Is it a combination of artificial intelligence, better data, overlaying different data sets to produce different outcomes?
What I have been very excited about is we can start seeing, with the adoption of tech, a delinking of operations and investments. What happens right now is real estate is extremely illiquid, and it's also bulky. The biggest problem of real estate is that it's bulky. And in order to break that down further, whether it's in the form of a REIT or whether it's stock or tokens or whatever it is, to make it more liquid, you need to decouple it from operations, because that's the only thing that always holds it back. Using a lot of tech allows you to do that. and then it becomes an investment class which everyone can partake in. So personally, I think technology is important to make real estate more democratic.
So you see the future as a real estate world owned by everyone?
Yeah, absolutely, and better lifestyles too. I personally believe that renting as a concept should not exist in 2050. All of us would have a stake in the pie of our physical world, whether it's a store or a hospital or a residential apartment or just your bed and dorm. I think it would be something that everyone engages in early, and it's a part of society. Ideally, that's what I would like to see technology do to the industry.
So 2 more questions. First one, what needs to change?
A little bit of investment into R&D would be great. For an industry that's as large as ours, it's appalling that we don't invest anything into it. And I think without that investment, none of this will be possible. I think the second thing is also playing for the larger good as opposed to short-term gains. And this is literally, I think everyone's now going to walk away because of me saying this. But sometimes short-term gains are fine if you're looking for just quick returns, but there is something called long-term play. And if you're looking at the industry from a long-term perspective, you'll take decisions in a very different way. But I think both are very heavy asks.
Finally, what excites you about the world today and what the future holds?
There's just so much progress happening every day that the tough part is catching up with it. There's just new research papers that come out. There are new models that are out there. And very often, startups like ours, we're also just playing catch up because we're keeping an eye out on it, we're testing, we're playing. And it's not as far off as people assume. Is AI about 5 years away? They're absolutely not, it's right here. And the speed at which we see it, because we see it every day, 18 months is going to be a big difference. I don't think it's a 5-year, 10-year, 15-year play. This is today.